Hey, it actually worked. Hello and welcome to MLW Con-Fusion. I'm impressed seeing things working on here because this is our first attempt going live. I'm Rob Kemmer, host of usually an audio-only podcast, but we were bringing forth a new venture, the Confused Roundtable, though full disclosure, it's been more of like a revolving door than anything else. But whatever, we got the best people involved, so, you know, no shade intended. But the first of which, co-host of Card Subject to Change, and now you're also co-hosting Roundtable too. You're just everywhere, but he is the wizard, CZ.
It's magic. I can get around because I can make magic happen.
He is a wizard, and of course, man that's had me on his show a handful of times to spout my nonsense, and then just had a banger of a match yesterday. So I'm impressed he's on. But Joe Monroe. So how you doing, Joe? How you feeling after the match?
Pretty good, man. I mean, that was my last match last night. I'm finally retired, and I get to focus more on doing stuff like this now. I enjoy doing this. So in a way, I'm still giving back to the professional wrestling community, so I'm not going to complain. But I'm also going to have a little more fun, just not, getting hurt in the process like I did last night. So
I was going to say, hopefully, knocking on wood, podcasting doesn't take any bumps off the bump card there. But such is life. But for those of you who have no clue what's going on, this is our first roundtable. We are going to be talking about the WWF New Generation gimmicks, the gimmicks you love to hate and maybe even hate to love. I did not ask these gentlemen who they wanted to talk about beforehand, so anything that's going on is going to be a shock to me. This also is not necessarily a top 5 list. We are just throwing out gimmicks up there, talking about them, maybe talk about how we would rebook them too, maybe see if we could if we could make them work. If not make them work, at least hopefully have them show up on television more than 3 times. But that being said, we might as well just go ahead and jump right to it. CZ, by the screen, going by the screen, and we'll call it clockwise. We'll go ahead and just start off with you because nature abhors a vacuum. Who's first? Who do you want to talk about first? What is one of your favorite New Generation gimmicks?
Okay, so this has been a long-standing joke with my co-host Nick and I. I have always told Nick that he is a first ballot surefire Hall of Famer, and that is Mantar.
Oh, boom! There we go. For the benefit of those with flash photography, we have Mantar. That actually worked too. I'm patting myself on the back. I am now Barry Horowitz. Okay, so enough self-great edgy. So what about Mantar is so magical for you besides the fact that he is half man, half tar?
I mean, that says it all right there, but it just is the most ridiculous thing that they could have thought of. I mean, you've got a dude coming out in what's essentially a buffalo head, for lack of a better term. He doesn't wrestle in it, though. If he wrestled in it, then I might enjoy it more, but good Lord. It just is such a memorable thing for how awful it was, in my opinion.
I think the best part is that he couldn't actually enter the ring with that on too. He couldn't get through the ropes, so he had to take it off before he got into the ring to have his match. And then I didn't grab a picture of him in his actual, we'll call it the wrestling attire, but he also had, for those of you who don't know, have big painted stripes, almost, I wouldn't call them horns because they were either just full on stripes or they just focused around giant raccoon eyes. And I know he is one of the more popular pieces of we'll go ahead and call it wrestle crap that's kind of got itself a cult following. Joe, you make all sorts of faces at this. Anything you want to put over for Mantar? No, we're not even touching Mantar. So therefore, CZ,
I'm starting to question. I'm starting to question who I picked as my co-host for the No Sell Roundtable now.
When you just say things like this, he's just going to double down and sneak in Mantar references every.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. Out, so
I know. That's why we love CZ, though.
We keep inviting him back for things and whatever.
Not to spoil the next roundtable, but I could make a reference that guy is as hairy as Mantar. I won't. I promise, Joe. I will not. I promise, but I could.
I mean, I already know. We announced it Friday. I no. This makes that head makes Bruiser Brody look shaved.
That's fair. That's fair.
Because really, it was only Brody's like head and boots that were hairy. Like the rest of them, like wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't that bad.
But now here's a small depiction of him. I mean, compare and contrast as you will.
But I have to ask you, CZ. So, how would you make the gimmick work? Like, what do you think? Like if you were going to actually push him? Like, what would his ceiling be, or at least what would it be like his big storyline? Because he never really got one. He just kind of showed up, mooed a bit, and then disappeared off into the ether.
Oh, that is tough. I mean, maybe pair him against the Godwins. I know they were pig farmers, but maybe they were going after him to try and tame him. That sounds ridiculous, but so is Mantar.
That's fair. Like there's some guys like I could come up with like, probably like a decent like storyline with, or like maybe had a ceiling, like a real ceiling to him. Like Mantar was just a guy. Like I think they were just giving a guy a job to, for better or for worse.
Who did he know behind the scenes that said, "Hey, come be a wrestler. We've got a crappy gimmick for you, but you can be on TV."
See, that's the thing, is like he was big in Europe, so but WWF didn't really deal with Otto Schwanz that much, so I don't know. But for Joe's sake, we will move on from Mantar. So who's your pick for the throw out there for the first gimmick?
I'm just going to go from the bottom. Bastion Booger.
Oh, Bastion Booger. He actually wanted to be a babyface.
Yes. Then they ended up giving him a Friar gimmick after that.
Yep. Friar Ferguson.
Was that Ferguson? Was that before or after? I thought Friar was before.
Maybe it was before. Listen, I hit my head on a guardrail last night, so forgive me if stuff wrong.
Talking to a man who partially hits his head for a living. How do I not have a picture of Bastion Booger? Like,
how dare you?
I looked one up because I'm not gonna lie, I grabbed Friar Ferguson too, and evidently I didn't add it to the slideshow.
You didn't add the Friar.
I didn't add. I downloaded. I downloaded the pictures though. Like that's the sad thing, is I did like the legwork. I just didn't do it right.
No,
but anyway,
all right, bro.
Anyway, I got sidetracked on that though. What draws you to Bastion Booger, positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative.
Worst gimmick ever. That's the worst. That poor guy. You couldn't pay me enough. The poor guy looked like he wore a diaper, for crying out loud. A very, very tight diaper, and not in a good way. It just, I mean, I guess he went all out on the gimmick, but it didn't work.
That's what you've got to do, right? I mean, if they're going to saddle you with garbage, you've got to go all out and make it the best you can, right?
Yeah, but I'll be asking for triple the money if I'm going to do that crap. Come on, now.
That's fair.
That's fair. Because I also remember like they do pull that back up when they talk about Bastion Booger on the WWE Network stuff, but showing him like allegedly doing commentary. He's just more like stuffing his face and you let it all just drool all over himself with it.
Yeah.
So it was total slop. But you also didn't mention, like, you brought up the diaper, but you didn't bring up the fact that, like, the weird straps that he had that, like, also, like, they tried to make him like a humpback too in the process. Or you still remember that part? You just blocked that part out of your memory. Let's
just block that part out of the memory and just go with it.
And then we also have to remember that his theme was just like various belches and flatulence too.
Right. Well, actually, outside of WWE, he actually did pretty good. In Stampede, he was a 2-time tag champion and a 3-time Stampede North American heavyweight champion.
Mockinson, I believe, is that correct?
That's right.
I remember some things, but yeah, and he only didn't. He had like it wasn't as cool. It wasn't as cool as the Mockinson, but then he had a decent run in the NWA as Lunatic Norman.
Yeah. My question is, like, if here's what kind of kills me during the New Generation era, during the early 90s, heck, even probably into the 2000s, even though that's not the New Generation era, no, we're not talking about that, but you notice, like, any good gimmick from the independents. And well, I guess they kind of do this today too. But any good gimmick that gets over on the independent scene or in some other company or something, they try to rebrand it and it just doesn't work out. I guess this would be a good earlier prime example.
Yeah.
Because that lunatic gimmick was good.
Oh yeah, he got like legit, like we kind of mock it now, but like he got like legit like babyface sympathy. Like I mean, it was ridiculous with Teddy Long wielding a giant key around, but that was like it was a very interesting story about like his slow face turn, going from the lunatic to like then like almost like a lovable teddy bear, like no quite pun intended, since that was like his manager after Teddy Long was just a teddy bear.
Well, I mean, in a way, we are talking about Booger, so I guess in some sort of way it worked, but people are talking about it, and in the business, we say if people are talking about it, any news is great news. You're getting recognized, so
that's a Vince Russoism right there. You're still talking about it, bro. It's a success. We'll ignore how
funny enough, I want to bring up Vince Russo later. Funny enough, you should bring him up. I'll get to him later.
I mean, wasn't even creative at this point, but like some of the things that he would later do in creative is very, we'll call it indirect, peripherally similar. We'll say like he was very good.
He was actually, hang on, towards the end of the New Generation era, he was part of the
team.
Yeah, he was. But at this time, during the start of it, he was just a writer for the magazine. So technically, we can bring up Russo.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and I was like, I'm not going to punish anybody. Like, but I talked about like the nebulous time frame because we could argue like when does the Attitude Era properly begin? Like
97.
We could say 97, but like, is there a hard start date, or is it just kind of a nebulous doodad with
I say the New Generation era ended when Vince came out and introduced the Attitude Era. That's when that's when the official Attitude Era started.
I can agree with that.
Because we were seeing glimpses before.
Oh yeah.
But after he gave that speech, that was basically a State of the Union speech saying, "Hey, we're rebranding our company as Attitude, and it's going to be a little more edgier." And from then on, it was.
Yeah. But yeah, we just segue. Speaking of that thing, going to the Attitude Era, but we're not quite there yet. We're still in New Generation. Let's just talk about the Ringmaster, shall we? Or be forced to. I'm not sure how much of a proper gimmick this really was for Steve Austin, because mostly he was just Steve Austin, who happens to wrestle really good. He's the best wrestler money could buy, a master of the ring, if you will, saddled with Ted DiBiase, who, for better or for worse, like despite being very good on the mic and very charismatic, was not a very good manager as a whole. And
yeah, that was disappointing.
Though I really liked the story of like how Austin, the Ringmaster, basically threw his match with one of his matches with Savio Vega. That the stipulation was that if Austin lost, Ted DiBiase was gone, and so they implied that he lost it on purpose as his like part of his transition to Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
See, the thing with that, in my opinion, they saddled him with DiBiase as a mouthpiece, but he didn't really need a mouthpiece. I mean, as evident in the '96 King of the Ring promo that he cut after he won, he didn't need that person to be behind him talking for him. That's 100% why DiBiase was there, and shouldn't have happened. They should have just let him stand on his own.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you guys know who he defeated in the first Monarcher as the Ringmaster on Monday Night Raw?
Scott Taylor, if I'm correct.
No. Matt Hardy.
Oh, Matt Hardy.
It was Matt very young Matt Hardy.
Right.
So, because I'm sitting here reading, I'm like, that ain't sound right. And I looked it up. I was like, oh my God, it was Matt Hardy.
I mean, technically at like various points, like the Hardys were like unofficially the longest tenured WWE superstars. More so Matt, because Jeff would just kind of flitter off and on between like TNA and whatnot. But like they just weren't under contract until like 99 or something of the like.
Right.
But they'd been doing enhancement work since like 94.
Right. Mm-hmm. They were doing enhancement work. Matt was of age. Jeff was not.
Yeah. But they like to show that video of Jeff being killed by Razor Ramon with his flat top. Well, they both had like flat tops at that point. Or Ahmed Johnson.
Those weird mullet flat top hairstyles of the 90s. It was like the biggest thing. Thank you, Billy Ray Cyrus, for that, I guess.
Though, like when I think of Hardy's doing the like enhancement work, I always think of was it Ahmed Johnson that ran him over like the King of the Ring, where they're just standing by the doors, like so supposed to be opening the doors for everyone, and just bam, just the doors just takes everybody out and just
there's someone that people forget was started in the New Generation era, but advanced in the Attitude era is Ahmed Johnson.
He's like a weird footnote and everything because he looked like he was going to be the man, and then he injured like everything that he touched, including himself.
Yeah, that's someone. Do we need to? I would say if we ever get into WCW 2000, we'll talk about him then.
I just referenced the feud over the letter T yesterday. I can't. I was talking politics and some of the changes the government is making to their documentation. I'll keep this brief, but I referenced like maybe they should bring Booker T in or Ahmed Johnson because they both have history feuding over the letter T and trying to get that back.
Tell me he just didn't say that.
Oh, I shucky ducky quack quack maybe, but that was cheap on my part putting the ringmaster up because it was a lame gimmick, but Austin overcame that and became arguably like the biggest star in wrestling history. Or
you guys remember the gimmicks, the names they were giving him before Stone Cold? It was like
Chili McFreeze is the one that always
Bang McFrost or Frost or some weird
Bang McFrost.
Bang, yeah. What the heck? That's New Generation style right there. Now I tell you,
right?
That's probably an example of the writing with the New Generation.
I like one of my favorite anecdotes is that like they've been tooling around. Like allegedly they were tooling around with the ringmaster for years. And like at one point, it was supposed to be Jimmy Garvin of the Fabulous Freebirds being like an actual ringmaster. And I can't remember if they were going to hook him up with Doink or if they were going to do something else with him. But allegedly, he was going to be like a carnival barker. And that was the ringmaster. Then somehow it evolved into, let's just put a guy in like very dark green trunks and call him like the best in the ring. And that's good enough. And make Steve Austin the blandest MFer we can.
Steve, what? You're gonna be the ringmaster, pal? What?
What? Still better than being jobbed out in 18 seconds to Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Rob, I think it's fair that you brought up the ringmaster and Steve Austin because it's just incredible the amount of talent there was in the New Generation that was saddled with the worst gimmicks possible. And I say just incredible. Can we talk about the Portuguese man of war, Aldo Montoya?
Hey, I like Montoya.
Hey, I don't have a problem with him, but it was not the greatest gimmick, and Justin had to fight his way out of it to be who he was when he got over to ECW.
Hey, where's my Montoya micro brawler? Dang it! I mentioned this off air, but I bought a loot box offline. Sometimes it's sketchy. It was wasn't eBay, it was another site. But I actually got a Max Moon and a Repo Man micro brawler out of it. So
Repo Man's my jam. I love me some Repo Man.
But aside from Repo Man, Conan, poor guy.
Yeah.
I guess the New Generation, if you look at it as a whole, it was like, can I say Nickelodeon or Disney around this time? They were shooting more towards kid-friendly stuff versus because they realized that, and I think I know why. They realized, look at Hogan, look at his merch sales, look at Savage, look at his merch sales. look at Lex, man, look at his merch sales. Brett, all of them. They were all mainly, it's probably kid-friendly stuff. Then they're like, hang on. And they were coming out with Hasbros and everything like that, making a killing. And on a side note, God, to go back and get the whole line of Hasbros in a box. Imagine. Whew, that's a dream. But anyways, that's why the New Generation was this goofy-ish, like Montoya here, even though, side note, Montoya is a guilty pleasure of mine. The gimmick, not the man. I swear. But that's why we get this cartoonish style stuff, because they were aiming more for kid-friendly, and we got some of the worst. However, we did get some of the best, and I'm going to go ahead and include let's just go ahead and talk about them, I guess. Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Mankind, Taker.
Yes.
Yankovic.
Mankind had his own cartoonishness in the fact that he would come out to different music than what he left in.
Yeah.
But I thought that made his character even better and more magical. Because he would come out, you'd have the
Psycho
music, and then it's like, okay, we got to put the monster to sleep now. You've got him going back to the ring with a lullaby.
And that was Foley's idea.
Yeah. The thing that like terrified me, and like mind you, like I was like 13, but like when the early times when he introduced the mandible claw, which one was like totally unique for the time period, but they actually had like guys foam at the mouth after having the claw put on him, like even as like 13-year-old, yeah, like that traumatized me watching Bart Gunn like foam at the mouth. And then like he's still foaming, and they made him cut an interview only to be attacked by Mankind like again. He's like, I don't know what happened, I just couldn't move. And then Foley's out of nowhere blasting Bart from behind. But I mean, this kind of goes to like we have been focusing on the terrible gimmicks of the New Generation, but like some of the stuff we kind of forget that like either started there, or we kind of like tee-ish, or like, well, looking at like Diesel, like Diesel's a stupid name. Let's just be realistic about it. But it works when a guy's 7 foot tall and as cool as Kevin Nash.
Right. Or
like Razor Ramon, like sounds like weird and stupid on paper as well. But like, obviously Scott Hall rode that to being like the number 2, number 3 babyface in the company at any given moment. And it's still kind of a shocker that he never got to hold the world title, considering that Diesel got for a year.
That man should have held the title.
100%. I mean, he made us all believe that he was Cuban for how many years?
Right. I lost my mind when I saw like pictures of 1980s Scott Hall.
Coyotes. Coyote.
Yeah, with the Coyotes. Yeah, the Starships and whatnot, or just in general, big Scott Hall when he was AWA Tag Team Champion with Kurt Hennig.
He had the Tom Selleck stash going on. And, yeah.
Like what? That's Razor Ramon, dude. What the heck? But then we also
looks like he ate Razor Ramon,
right? Oh, the fun, like I think the best part, like one of the best parts for me as a fan, is just like I watched both WCW and WWF, and so like I knew like Scott Hall. Well, I didn't know his name was Scott Hall, but I'm like, that's the Diamond Stud. All they did was just change the color of his tights and his vest and call it Razor Ramon. Like, he was literally doing almost the exact same thing. I can't remember if he talked with a Cuban accent as the Stud, but almost everything else about him was like it was the same.
Well, I mean, you can argue that Diesel was just a better version of Vinny Vegas.
Yeah, that's very true.
And a heck of a lot better version of Oz.
Oh.
Well, that's not hard, Joe. Come on.
I mean, it's a geographical location, man. Sorry.
I mean, but as Oz, he got like a monkey helper though, so like that always boosts me up, because I always wanted a little monkey helper. Not realizing that like chimpanzees and whatnot are actually vicious creatures that are just as bad as humans, really. But that's
if you stop to think about it, I'm surprised we didn't get a gimmick called like chimpanzee or something like that in this era.
Oh, they would have rehired Tony Atlas and made him do it.
No, stop it!
It would have been even worse than Sabasina.
No,
nope,
no, no. Sorry, I have to do the laugh. Every time I think of Tony Atlas, it's not his wrestling, it's the laugh.
You know, we haven't really talked about this yet. I can't think of the new generation without remembering how everybody had a second job. I mean, I asked this off air. I told you guys not to address it till we got on the air, but which was the side hustle? Was it the wrestling, or was it being the trash man for Duke the Dumpster Drosy? Was it repossessing people's possessions for the Repo Man? What was the side hustle there?
Probably living the gimmick had to be the side hustle, because the wrestling at this point, I think WWF, the heck with it, I ain't saying WWE. WWF at the time, they were more of going towards the entertainment basis, being more kid friendly, cartoonish, signing more cartoon stuff like that. And that promo work, was great on some. I mean, Razor, for crying out loud, those vignettes. Oh my God, I could go back and rewatch them. Yes. But stuff like Repo Man, it's a ridiculous gimmick, but it works. It works. Duke the Dumpster, same deal. He's picking up trash. It works. So
TL
I think
Hopper.
Do what?
TL Hopper bringing his plunger to the ring, sticking it in people's faces.
Oh my God. I forgot about him.
Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony, and that's good. That's the thing too. Like about a lot of these new generation gimmicks is they took guys from the territories and brought them into the WWF, and then just went nobody knows who they are. So you're a plumber now, and
I guess he kind of sort of was still Dirty White Boy in a way.
I mean, and then he actually the case of Dirty White Boy, he then also was Cousin Cletus. Was it?
Yes.
But he spent 10 minutes as the manager for the Godwins as well. So for the wrestle crap. But it was just interesting who they nabbed and then just decided was what. But I also want to point out here, just to get a quick dig in, because it's not a confusion without a dig. But I'm just going to point out that I've not seen TL Hopper and the one called Manders in the same place.
Oh
ever.
God!
So
stop it, Rob! Stop.
It might be the same guy. Just throwing it out there.
Rob, you're going to get clotheslined. Oh
yeah,
God.
You're going to get the hardest lariat that anyone has ever gotten in their lives.
Oh God, Rob, you no, just stop. Manders is going to fight. Manders, please. He's a good friend of mine. Don't do it.
It's fine. He's in Europe right now. It's fine, and he's not
the This is worldwide. You can watch it in Europe. You can get one.
He's not the boss of the Plains anymore. He's the boss of New Jersey. He is fighting for the title boss of New Jersey, and he's going to have to wait until Bruce Springsteen dies before he can have that.
Okay, I'm not going to argue with you there, because Bruce is the boss.
Exactly.
But hey, I know someone we forgot about, and I want to say I think he's got an elite that I want. The Goon.
Oh, the Goon. Speaking of territory guys that just came back out of nowhere, Wild Bill Irwin with an even better haircut somehow.
Goon.
The rumor, I think it was Jericho in his first autobiography said that he was supposed to be the Goon, and
because of his dad being a Ranger.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is I'm not sure anybody would have gotten that reference, and not that the gimmick was very good anyway. Though I love guys who just choose to win by count out. That's also just my level of entertainment right there. Him, the Goon winning via hockey check into the corner, corner guardrail, or you got the Berserker tossing guys over the top rope. But yeah, the Goon, and he still put on the fake skates for a couple of WWE appearances after it became WWE. Did those gimmick battle royals and the I don't know, the Raw 20 something anniversary battle royal, etc.
Sorry guys, this is the new cat Oliver. This was my Valentine's Day present. He just wanted to say hi.
Aww.
He's been attached to me at the hip. Hey, but he has, as I was showing you guys, he was born without a tail. So he's different, and he's a good boy, and him a wrestling fan already.
I wish my little buddy would hang out and be cool with me while I record stuff, but she whenever I'm on the phone or talk to magic boxes, she detaches from reality and then has to take it out on me. She's a broken baby. We love her, but she's broken.
He's gonna whoop me for this. I think JT Energy's gimmick would have worked in the New Generation.
I think JT, like even if it wasn't the feline phenom, he would have made whatever work because he gives it his all.
But you got the feline gimmick. Come on now. Come on.
Did I do my?
That would have worked in the New Generation.
Oh,
sorry, JT. I'm just saying, bro.
Wasn't there a cat person in the New Generation already?
Battle Cat.
Yes.
And I downloaded a picture of him too, and it didn't make it to the slideshow somehow, so I can't pop up a picture of it, and it makes me angry because we also missed out on the whole Bastion Booger Fire Ferguson stuff. But yeah, Battle Cat. I think he only had like 1 or 2 matches. Like I'm curious to see like where he would have gone, like if they got behind him in any way.
The Battle of the Cats, JT Energy versus Battle Cat. Who would win?
Sign me up. My vote is on JT Energy.
Same.
But I might be a little biased.
He does blatantly take breath away from people, and you need breath to wrestle and or live. So,
listen, I'm telling you, the way that man speaks, he could do like the what's the stuff you fall asleep to? What's that app called?
Oh, the like the ASMR.
Yeah. He could just read a story, and you can just fall asleep to it. And I mean that as a compliment. He just has a calming voice. Battle Cat didn't say anything, so you know.
I don't think he got any promos. I think he just like showed up like for 2 tapings of Superstars, and then we never saw him ever again.
Yeah, he's like the cat that just showed up at your house one day and they just shoot him away with the food.
They didn't leave food out, so he just wandered. He just wandered off to the next promotion. Can't remember.
What was that baseball gimmick? The guy that had baseball. He looked like off of the Warriors. I know it's what they were doing.
Knuckleball Schwartz.
Yeah, Abe Knuckleball Schwartz.
Yeah, Schwartz. That was his name.
Where'd it go? There it is. Boom. Because the WWE wrestlers do not go on strike. That was the whole gimmick off of Abe Schwartz, was that he was debuted during one of the baseball players union strikes, and you know they wanted to let you know that the WWF would never go on strike, mostly because
nobody got it.
Yeah, and nobody's and they're not unionized, so not like they could go on strike anyway, right? Vince would just cut them all and like get a bunch of new Battle Cats.
Can I just say he looks, with the face paint, he looks like Mrs. Doubtfire took one of those baseball cups you see during the summer, stuck it on her face.
What I want to see though is like I'm curious about the decision to have him like paint his face, whether they're just going for the Warriors motif or they just didn't want anyone to know that he was the Brooklyn Brawler.
Probably the latter.
You can tell he was the Brooklyn Brawler.
I mean, he's built
that's Brooklyn Brawler. I mean, come on.
The finisher, he didn't even bother to change his finisher. I mean, not that he won terribly often, but like the 3 matches, the 3 combined matches that Brawler and Schwartz won, it was either with a Boston Crab or a Superplex. So like he couldn't even be bothered to change things up on that.
I'm happy you brought up Brawler. I want to switch gears for a minute. I was watching Young Rock. I don't know why I didn't notice this in the first place. I didn't know that was Colt Cabana that played Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too, because I remember him promoting it. It's like, I can't tell you who I am, but I'm going to be on Young Rock pretty soon.
I seen it. I was like, they had Colt Cabana. Well, I guess he is the modern day Brooklyn Brawler.
You know, can we talk about Knuckleball Schwartz and the Brooklyn Brawler? Can we talk about someone else was saddled with multiple gimmicks that were questionable until he finally found his own? I'm talking about Glenn Jacobs, of course.
Dr. Isaac Yankum.
Dr. Isaac Yankum, and also
fake
he
Diesel.
was Diesel when Diesel was gone. He was the fake Diesel.
Actually,
they have an elite of the fake Diesel.
What's that?
There's an elite of the fake Diesel. It's in the Monday Night War series. I almost bought it, but I was like, I can't bring myself to do this. I'm sorry.
I might have to look for that one. That has to be unique.
You'll have to. eBay's probably your best friend for the Monday Night War series, if you want my honest opinion. And I believe there's a Dr. Isaac Yankum, because I got a friend that he went to a signing where I live in Southeast Kentucky. He went to Knoxville when he was running for mayor for the first time, and he got one signed, and he said he just kind of looked at me and went, okay, and just signed it.
Money's green.
I think this is exactly just like, okay.
Oh, we lost our host, Joe.
No.
I hit the wrong button.
Welcome back.
I'm not used to hosting things, and now I'm trying to multitask.
I'm like, wait, no, I'm not hosting another roundtable day. I'm kidding.
This is barely round, and if there's only two people, is it even a roundtable at that point?
I don't know. I kind of like the revolving discussion or something like that. That would be cool.
The revolving door discussion. Yeah.
The revolving door of confusion. There you go.
There we go. That's just how I live my life, baby. That's not even a gimmick. Two things I do in life: be confused and shit on the one called Manders. Two things I do in life.
I'm waiting on if there's ever a match that we can teach Rob the basics for him to go up against the one called Manders. Rob, I would pay a plane ticket to go all the way up there just to watch that match.
He pitched like on the Evil app. He pitched a match for like last time he came to Iowa, but I don't know if that ever made it to the Booker's ears. But he laid down a challenge for it. But like I was filled with pork belly and sitting on the top row to laugh at him when he lost his match for the SCW Pro Championship.
Question,
like I said, I was going to.
Do you got to have a wrestler? Do you have to be licensed in Iowa?
I don't think so. I don't
think so either.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But yeah, I know he laid down the challenge and like called out the Booker man, and nothing heard anything of it. I figure I'm the cash cow of SCW Pro, so I don't think he wants anything to happen to me.
You know what? Here, I'll cover your medical expenses. Book the match, okay? Because he's going to need medical expenses. I'll book the match.
Joe, he's going to need someone to train him in the basics.
He'll be all right.
All right.
You implying will last more than 15 seconds.
That's exactly what my wife said, but that's besides the point. He'll be all right.
You implying would get anything in besides an eye poke. Maybe a low blow and run away.
Like a local Tennessee promoter when they see a kid, he'll be all right. He'll learn on the job.
No, I know the basics. I know how to pull the hair. I know how to poke the eyes. I know how to poke the tights. I know how to use a foreign object. Of course, I'm talking.
Can you bump? That's my next question. If you can bump, then you're good. You're golden.
I'm good at falling. I've fallen a handful of times, but anyway, I was trying to segue into this into our new generation, but Freddie Joy Floyd, tail end of the new generation, Tracy Smothers.
Poor Tracy.
I don't know if Freddie Joe Floyd is really a gimmick so much as they just said he was from Oklahoma, and just said he was Freddie Joe Floyd and let him beat Bradshaw a couple times. But on Shotgun, he misses his mother. Like that was a famous thing because he actually like turned to the camera and went like, "Hi, Mom."
They did him wrong. They did Tracy Smothers, especially if you're around here in my area. There's so many people that has Tracy Smothers' story. They did him wrong. I even think WCW did him wrong. That guy could have been heavyweight champion anywhere he went, hands down. Underrated professional wrestler.
I love Tracy, and I half jokingly say like the highlight of my indie show attending career was the ability being able to take a piss next to Tracy Smothers in Pekin, Illinois.
How you doing, brother?
Only one bathroom. So the boys, girls, and fans all had to use the same restroom in the Avanti's Dome.
That sounds like
that's like everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
I doubt you'll admit it, but I know you took a side glance, didn't you?
Stop it, CZ.
I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Well, I need to know how they peed in singlets.
That's exactly what Rob probably thought. Sorry, Rob, everybody.
I don't know how this works, so I had to figure out how to pee with singlets on. I'm not one of the boys.
Oh yeah, it's like that scene in what's the hot chick in the bar bathroom. There's a fly.
But seriously, like, Tracy was criminally underrated, and like almost any worker that's done the indies, especially in the Midwest, has a Tracy Smothers story. And like, it's also another one of like my fun facts is that like one of the early guests when I started having guests on MLW Con-Fusion was one Mickey Knuckles. And
awesome.
and and like she was one of Tracy's illegitimate children, one of the scores that he left around America, of course. But so one of the things I wanted to do while she was on the show was pick her brain about Tracy. And like, I got some good stories out of it, but I felt really bad because like she was like my second guest ever, and I made her cry. Just so it's like one of the reasons I don't do too many lives, because I made one person cry in my second interview.
Well, one of the history I've thought about doing as a side project. I've had him on the show before. He was actually my first wrestler interview for the Legends of Kentucky, JD Thunder. I don't know if you guys remember him being on the show. Oh gosh, it's been almost about a year and a half ago. Him and Tracy were like this. They were best friends. So it's in the back of my mind. I'm like, maybe I should do an episode on old Tracy Smothers, because I think that would be a great episode.
For Christmas, I got his autobiography, and I haven't had time to break it open yet, and I'm excited to do that because the man's been everywhere. Whether going up through the territories, he was in like early true WCW when just after the last merger with the Turner buyout. Of course, he's worked with Jim Cornette and Smoky Mountain, where he was top of the card there. ECW became Italian. WWE, where they did him dirty, is Freddie Joe Floyd. But he did get to, if nothing else, he got to lose to Doc Hendricks, one of the few times Doc Hendricks got to wrestle. So
poor Michael P.S. Hayes.
There's a gimmick we also I didn't include in my slideshow either. The total rebrand of Doc Hendricks from Michael P.S. Hayes. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even realize that was
the home video stuff too. I remember that because he used to do like I know there was a Heartbreak Kid one, and you guys know I watched old tapes of World Class and all that. My grandpa, and I watched it. I was like, "Why is Michael P.S. Hayes doing this? And why is his name Doc?"
See, I couldn't put two together. Like with him clean shaved and the haircut, and the fact that he looked like 20 pounds heavier than I last saw him. Like he was unrecognizable to me until the Brood acknowledged that he was Michael Hayes. But like looking back at it now, like there was all the signs that he was there. Like outside, he didn't change his voice too, but he even did the Michael Hayes like smooth face thing gesture that he would do periodically, like as Doc. And I'm like, man, how did I not see that? It's kind of a stupid child. But
oh man. This era of wrestling is one of those. If they didn't do so much cartoonish stuff, but didn't really hit the Attitude Era, kind of like what they basically Ruthless Aggression era type deal. If they would have kept a little bit of comedy with a little more seriousness, I think the New Generation era could have been probably better than the Attitude Era. That could be, a little controversial, but that's just me. Look at all the, like you guys said earlier, look at all the talent that came through. But look at the gimmicks to second with.
Yeah, and at least, like I will say, I mean, comparing it to the Ruthless Aggression, at least I was never bored. Even looking back at it, like I was never bored with New Generation. Like, yeah, we could say it was stupid or they did so and so dirty, but like I feel like the greatest crime in entertainment is to be boring. And even with your Bastion Boogers or your Mantars running around, I was not bored because at least I could go like, dude, they fucking could have a bull guy run around. What? There's a hockey player and his boots are done up like ice skates. Like there's a bunch of stupid stuff that is like objectively entertaining. Was it good entertaining or bad entertaining? Like that's up to personal preference. But like at least it wasn't like the Clone Wars of Ruthless Aggression.
Oh.
Everybody looked the same. Everybody wrestled almost exactly the same. A lot of the wrestlers didn't have personality, even though like we would find out some of them like really like awesome, like looking at like Mark Jindrak, that they just put a chopping block on his personality despite like then becoming like one of the biggest stars in Mexico at the point. But like but talent wise, like I agree, like it's crazy to see who like walked through that door who could still go. And we haven't talked about like some of the like the up and comers. Like we haven't talked about Al Snow's 1,000 gimmicks. And Yeah, Leaf Cassidy, Avatar. I was a New Rockers mark back in the day too. I mean, still am, but like Shinobi, Avatar,
Yes.
Leaf Cassidy.
They do have. You can't see it, can you? Dadgum lighting, but yes, there is a Goon Elite, and dadgum, you guys, I'm probably going to buy that now. Thanks.
Yes.
$15. That's all it is. It's $15.
Oh, that's not that bad for that stuff.
No, it's not.
But yeah, we had all this talent, like people that were like top guys in their respective territories, or like had decent runs, and like we've even like ignored like
we forgot. We forgot Kama, the Godfather.
Kama Mustafa. Yes.
Kama.
Yeah,
he was just Kama.
Yeah,
he was just Kama. There was no Mustafa.
Started. Yeah, he's Kama, the ultimate fighting machine.
Yep, we forgot about that.
And that he had one of the most memorable storylines for me with the Undertaker when he stole the urn and melted it down for his gold chains. I will never in my life forget that story.
That's a friend putting over a friend, is what that is, and it worked.
Right.
I'll just say Charles Wright is one of the nicest people you can meet, whether he's Kama, whether he's... I got to share a 3-hour car ride with him last year, and that was just awesome.
We were doing Caverna Super Show a couple of years ago. He came in, first thing he asked, "Hey guys, anybody got any stokers or any kind of chewing tobacco?" I'm like, dang it. I was going to ask for, papers or something, but chewing tobacco, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, he was super cool. And my buddy was one of us, got to do all the handling with the promoter, and he was like, "Dude, this guy's awesome." So I got to meet him. I didn't get a picture with him. That's one thing I regret.
Yeah, I had just listened to an interview with Too Cold Scorpio, and they were talking specifically about Brawl for All, and we could talk about Scorpio in New Generation here in a minute, with what they did to him. But he got a first round match with Godfather, with Proto Godfather. He wasn't full on pimp yet. He was just the Godfather of the Nation at that point. But they talked about like they were riding buddies. And they got put against each other, which Scorpio thinks that was either a rib or someone was just trying to be a jerk backstage and like try to separate the two. But talked about how like, oh, we're fighting each other. Well, let's just fight. Okay, no takedowns. We're just going to fight. We were going to take it to the street. Okay. And then they both like went their separate ways to have a smoke. They come back and then it was showtime, and they had to like get ready to knock the squat out of each other. And they both agreed to like just straight up fisticuffs, which was not the norm necessarily. Well, not necessarily the norm for Brawl for All, because you're allowed takedowns in those early tough man competitions. But yeah, they just totally wailed away at each other. And I know Godfather like nearly tore an ACL or MCL, like taking the fall during that. Like he was in a wheelchair for 10 minutes, like after that. But anywho, speaking of Scorpio and segueing off of that, I didn't do the slideshow right here, but we got ourselves some Flash Funk action. There we go. Flash Funk. He is so funky.
I used to have his BCA figure. No, I'm talking about the bone crunching action figures.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to think about that one.
I used to have that. I think I may still have. No,
yeah.
I don't think I have it anymore. I wish I did.
I think, but yeah, weird that like for him, like they like compared to like some of the other like New Generation guys, like I think they thought they were going to do something with Scorpio, because they gave him a whole presentation, because he had the Fly Girls out with him, like he had the theme song, like he had like a whole production like going behind him. Like, so somebody saw something that they thought was going to be cool having Scorpio around, and then I don't know what happened from there, where they just decided they were going to do next to nothing with him.
Was he, would you consider him Brodus Clay before Brodus Clay was Brodus Clay with his Funkadactyls?
I mean, at a certain level, I would consider him a PG Godfather almost too.
Okay.
I mean, look at him. And he come down to the ring with two beautiful ladies. Like, he just didn't offer them up, because that was a little bit too much innuendo to for 1996 yet, I guess.
What's an innuendo?
It's an Italian suppository.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Shut up in your face.
Anytime we get CZ to pop, it's great.
That's why CZ keeps me around, because I just say stupid stuff that's just to pop him. I don't offer any like real podcasting talent. I'm just here to entertain CZ.
Oh, you got podcasting talent, Rob. Come on, man.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
We haven't determined how well I can sell yet, because I haven't gotten any bump training. So.
That's fair. Speaking of selling, that's what my article is going to be about this week. So that'll be fun.
If I live, what's it about?
Selling.
What are we selling?
Anything.
The stunner mostly.
Or
lack thereof.
Oh,
Rob got a preview of it. I talk a lot about the stunner, but there's some other things in there. I'm not going to give anything.
So
else
guys, I mentioned somebody, and this is going to be a gift for my brother. I'm going to spoil it here. Rob, you get an exclusive. I bought him an autograph. Yeah, and he's going to love it. A lot of people are going to hate it, especially Gremlin behind here. She's like, autograph, you say, what is it?
Yeah. There we go. You did say we were talking Vinny Roo later.
I mean, should I just go ahead? No.
No.
Does that mean if I do that?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I'll keep it. That way I'll give it to him later. You'll probably see a video later on or something. It's Vince Russo, though. I don't know. He loves Vince Russo. I don't know why. CZ, I think we found a subject for later down the road.
Maybe he just loves a swerve, bro.
Bro, listen. Bro, listen. We put Viagra on the pole. Bro, it's go, bro.
Bro. Vic Venom. That's an 8x10 we need. We need a Vic Venom 8x10.
Yes.
Do you think he ever had any of those, or Vic Venom was too busy hiding behind the typewriter, bro?
Rob and I were petitioning for our local promotion to have somebody on a forklift for a match, but they shot us down.
I still have my proto match card on my phone. Like that, if we ever get real podcaster money, so we could promote our own show, I still have my card written down. Not that I've talked to any of the potential workers. I just wrote down the card. Now I see it in my head and sent it CZ's way. I'm like, what? You're going to tempt me with this fantasy booking? Give me 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes when I should be working instead.
Listen, I now can have money to rebuild a collection again. I say this, and my wife's like, "You going to do what?"
I allegedly have money to do this.
Do what, Rob?
I said I allegedly have money to do this. Until the wife finds out, then.
Well, I mean, yeah. But yeah, I think as a whole, Yoko. We forgot about to talk about Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that wonderful tag team partner of his. I got his figure right here. If you don't mind me reaching over, and this wonderful tag partner he had as a tag champion, Owen Hart. I think that's an underrated tag team. And Owen's feud with Brett during that era was way underrated.
So arguably one of the best cage matches that wasn't necessarily overly violent. Like
in my opinion, best wrestler out of the New Generation era, Owen Hart.
That's where he really finally got to come into his own. And like, who would have thought? Like, because like he was really never a heel. Like anytime like people got to like pay attention to him, because I don't think he was ever a heel in Stampede, or Japan, and obviously WWE with the Blue Blazer was never a heel.
But that Rocket gimmick, the Rocket, Owen Hart, come on, and that theme song. Come on.
Oh, I love the theme song.
There's another topic. The themes from that era. Come on.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing I miss about like a lot of wrestling in general. Like, I mean, AEW does some pretty good work, but like it just doesn't. A lot of the themes nowadays like don't have the oomph as like the Jim Johnson themes in general. And like I know some of them are kind of reductive, but they still like were iconic. Like looking at Austin's theme song was really only like 45 seconds repeated like three or four times, but like that glass shattering and just that initial riff just blow your mind. I mean, I think Owens was a Jimmy Hart theme, but like still like I love that song. And then like they stole it for Jimmy then stole it for Hulk Hogan for the Hulk Rules album. I think it became I Want to Be a Hulkamaniac, if I remember correctly.
That makes me think. I've had it behind me the whole show. Joe, you mentioned Yoko. You mentioned Hulk Hogan. They tried to turn Lex Luger into the modern day Hulk Hogan during the New Generation, and that just fell flat on its face. Despite the fact that they paired him with Yoko, and I think
he tagged with Bulldog for a while too.
Yeah,
Allied Powers. CZ and I referenced that yesterday because CZ actually bothered to do real research for this roundtable, and we were talking about the Blues Brothers or Bruise Brothers. Well, they were blue. They've been both the Blues and the Bruise, but Ron and Don Harris, the Harris twins, and we talked about how the match with the Allied Powers was like arguably one of the worst WrestleMania matches of all time, and they were the opener for I think it was WrestleMania 10.
I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, I think you're right.
Speaking of WrestleMania 10, that had one of the best matches ever, Brett and Owen.
Right. They went both directions just in that one night.
Everybody talks about the ladder match from 10, but Brett and Owen go out of your way.
That was. I think 10 as a whole. We could talk about it because guess what? I had New Generation, but that Mania was. I think it's criminally underrated. It really is. It's criminally underrated because if you stop, because I rewatched it, I actually might rewatch it tonight since I'm off work tomorrow. There's so many matches. Brett and Owen, and then later that night you had Brett going up against Yoko in a title match after Owen defeated his brother.
Yeah,
and Owen comes out and is like, what the heck? Why didn't I get my title shot? I defeated him earlier tonight. Why wasn't it me? And that further fueled the feud there. I think that's what led to the cage match, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That was like the alternate, one of the alternate like matches for it. But yeah, like some variation of that because there was like a coin toss because Luger and Brett co-won the Rumble that year, and so they had to figure out like who was going to actually like. They were both going to get the title shot. But it was a question of who was going to get it first. And like I want to say they did it like via coin flip. And so the loser of the coin flip had to wrestle twice. And I can't remember who. Like they said what Luger was supposed to do if he would have lost, like who his matches be. But obviously it didn't come out. He didn't have to do it. And then if Brett lost, he would have to wrestle Owen first, and then he would also then wrestle Yokozuna at the main event. Something of the like.
But in storylines, there was some that we can go back to the brother versus brother, Hart versus Hart. That storyline. Plus, you had the Hart brothers do what was it, a 8-man tag?
Yeah, they had a Survivor Series match with
against King and his Knights, right?
Yeah, well, Shawn Michaels and his Knights, but it was supposed
to
be Jerry Lawler. Then he got himself into some little bit of trouble.
Good old Jerry.
Yeah. But yeah, it was Shawn Michaels and his 3 Knights. And then Owen got salty because he was the only Hart that got eliminated in that match. Otherwise, it was going to be a clean sweep of the Knights. But Owen got eliminated. Like I want to say he crashed into Brett and he got rolled up or something of the like.
That was it.
It was either way. It was Brett's fault he got eliminated, and it was the only Hart eliminated, which makes me sad because I want to see Bruce get eliminated because. Bruce.
Who doesn't want to see Bruce get eliminated? Sorry, Bruce. No, I'm not.
I don't think anybody is.
But yeah, I think New Generation, it could have been if rebooked. Take a little bit of the kid-friendly stuff out. and got a little serious with some gimmicks, that could have been the best era in wrestling.
Yeah. As we said earlier, like just the amount of talent that came through the door that we we laugh at because the gimmicks was stupid. But again,
the magician, who was that? Was that who, what was his name? Yes.
Fantasio?
Whatever happened to him?
He joined the Nation in USWA.
Really?
Yeah.
And then was never heard from again.
Pretty much. Like he's one of those guys I look up every now and again because I'm like, I don't have enough guys from the 90s on my show. I should try to find.
I mean, that looks awesome to me. That right there is cool.
He just needs to come up with a real finisher, though. Like his finisher was like an atomic wedgie, rip the guy's underwears off, and then everyone's confused, and then he does a quick roll up.
Again, if booked right,
he's got a great look.
Yeah.
Oh, there's directions you could take it if you were willing to go a little bit more serious. I mean, obviously, as a babyface, he's doing like if you got a guy who's a good enough worker, like he could have like been like this magician counterpart to Doink. Because, because Doink originally worked just because Matt Bourne was so like insanely like perfect for the role. Like Fantasio could work, babyface being like kind of very kid friendly, or like evil magician. Like we all like to have ourselves some evil sorcerers in wrestling every now and again for no good reason. Or
we mentioned comic. We can't forget Papa Shango.
Oh, Papa Shango traumatized me because of his feud with Warrior. Watching Warrior just vomit everywhere and lighting jobbers on fire.
You guys probably know this, but I was reading an article the other day. They was actually going to bring him back during the Attitude Era, and it was going to be way, way darker than what we got. And I'm like, we need this. Get him back. I don't care if it's just vignettes. We need this.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen the sketches because they came up with like concept sketches for it too. Like they were,
and he had promo photos pictured too.
I don't think I've seen the promos. Like, I haven't seen the promos, but I've seen the sketches.
Yeah, it was basically, it looked like Papa Shango. The face paint was just a little different, and it looked more darker, like sinister. I'm like, this is what we needed. I was like, as a kid, I know people want to make fun of Papa, but it's Papa Shango. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, I have a friend who goes on a Papa Shango kick like once every like 5 years. It just like the bug hits him and he has to watch a bunch of old Papa Shango matches because it's just like, again, it's like that right level of lunacy of just like WTF were they even thinking? Like how do you make this work in a world that was been like quasi realistic, or at least as realistic as you could be while oiling up and throwing each other around? Like, and I think that's the problem. Like a sidebar, this is kind of like the problem with like a lot of like the magical characters in wrestling is that so many companies will just have a random magical character, but like that's the only guy who does magic. Like, where does he actually fit into this reality? Like everybody else is again like quasi grounded in reality, or like, even if that reality is a bunch of wrestling hockey players or something of the like they're still realistic. Like hockey players exist and they're no less an athlete than any other professional athlete, but they're not shooting lightning bolts or lighting people on fire.
I just had a thought. I think Waylon Mercer and Papa Shango Mercy, whatever, should have been that would have made a decent little team if you think about it.
I wish Dan Spivey wasn't like broken down so much. Because the Waylon Mercy, like this is talking as an adult, the Waylon Mercy character was so ahead of his time and amazing. He played that role perfectly. It's just that he worked. He's a big dude who got some big injuries, especially working in Japan. And by the time he was Waylon Mercy, like he was half ready to retire anyway. And then that stupid Kevin Nash dropping people on the power bomb and calling it a jackknife kind of cemented that deal on Mercy anyway.
Thank God for Bray Wyatt.
Can I pose a what if here? We're talking about people with their magic in wrestling. Do you think that the Boogeyman would have fit in the New Generation next to Papa Shango?
Oh yeah,
I think he would have worked out better, honestly, in the New Generation, just because how they presented the product. Because in those days, like guys didn't necessarily appear on TV every week, and by the time by the time he come along in WWE, like he had like a lot of guys almost had to be a constant presence. And like, let's face it, as awesome as Boogeyman is, the bell rings and he's kind of And whereas in the new generation, he could just squash jobbers forever and then not even have to touch like a have a main event level match. And I think he could like low key like be like one of the anchors of the undercard.
I can definitely see that. I think he would have been a lot of fun to have there, and I think he'd be a lot of fun partnering with Papa Shango as well. I think they would have made a good team.
And there's a batch of like other like what ifs that they kind of like they were going they never pulled the trigger on, because like one of the rumored things was like he was going to be the reason that Bob Backlund went crazy. Like it wasn't jealousy that drove Bob Backlund nuts. Like Papa Shango like planted that seed of like mind control, and Bob Backlund, formerly clean cut Bob Backlund, freaks the F out, and now everybody's in the crossface chicken wing.
Well, what about managers? There really wasn't that many managers in the new generation except for Paul Bearer. But I don't know if you would consider him part of the new generation. But right beside me here, you got Brother Love. I love you.
He popped in it. Yeah, I mean, like at a whole, like probably not, but like I mean, he still was like around-ish. Like they'd have him do like random stuff, and like he would still like pop up. I don't know, like this would be the tail end of New Generation, if that, because my timeline's all messed up. But like he brought in the Sisters of Love for a one-off. So he's still doing some managing stuff, but like they had a batch of folks, but like they were really, for the most part, like outside of Sunny, like they were kind of, I don't want to call them one-offs, but like they were just like they were part of the gimmick. And if that team like ditched the gimmick, they were gone too. Because like we talked about Tony Anthony being cousin Cletus for 10 minutes. Right. But like we also had Hillbilly Jim come in for the Godwins for 10 minutes. I mean, Sonny was everywhere and like managed like any tag team. Harvey Whippleman like maybe didn't start in the new generation, but he came through with Giant Gonzalez and Bertha Faye, which we didn't touch on Bertha Faye, how they did Monster Ripper dirty.
Criminally underrated manager, if I may say so. Downtown Bruno, aka Harvey Whippleman.
But yeah, it kind of like phased out a lot of the managers. I like Slick was there for like 10 minutes to humanize Kamala, like, and then so of course with Kamala they had to bring in Kim Chi for 10 minutes as well. Kim Chi actually got to have a match for whatever reason.
Oh my god, that is right. I forgot about that.
They took Kamala bowling. Civilized him.
You took my boy.
Yeah.
Why did I have that Will Ferrell "You're My Boy Blue" just randomly pop in my head? You're my boy, Kamala.
Oh.
Well, yeah. Comparatively speaking, like they had kind of toned down a lot of the use of managers in general. Like they had a bunch of them that were very, very short term.
What up? I do got a new generation figure. Yeah, it's the Jerry Lawler new generation.
Ah, the king.
I forgot all about that. Sorry. I was looking back. I was like, I don't think I have any new generation elites. But I was like, oh, wait. Yes, I do. Hold on.
You know what we haven't touched on from the new generation?
What?
The minis.
Oh, yeah, the minis. Well, we didn't touch, like, speaking of we didn't touch on the actual luchadores that came in at the tail end either. Because they tried to, like, the Super Astros. But yeah, I just remember because they picked, like, random, like, minis too. Like, they had mini Goldust and mini Vader versus, like, mini Mankind and somebody who's just small that wasn't rip off.
Mini Bret Hart. No, that was Attitude. Sorry.
Wasn't there a match between Jerry Lawler and three mini Jerry Lawlers and Doink and three mini Doinks?
Yeah, it was like Wink, Pink. I can't think like Wink, Pink, and Dink, and then there was like Queasy, Sleazy, and Wheezy.
Oh god!
Something like that
was Lawler's batch of folk, and then of course like it ends with just a giant schmoz and all the midgets teaming up against or beating up Jerry Lawler. Though, like offshoot. Speaking of little folk and wrestling, I'm just throwing out there that I unironically love WLC. Just gonna throw it out there. I know that's definitely not new generation because this was what, like 2000, like 16 or so. But like that is seriously like one of my favorite matches of all time, because you go in like you should go in there with no expectations, and then it's so entertaining that it just blows everything out of the water. And then just watching like Drew McIntyre do a tope con elo into a table for no good reason. Like he even knows what's going to happen, and is just like, here we go, and then just does it anyway. It's just amazing. But yeah, they did minis. They did the Super Astro for like 10 minutes. Brought in a batch of luchadores around early 1997, because that was where they brought like a bunch of luchadores were at the Royal Rumble event and then in the match itself. And no Yob, Mr. Mil Mascaras had to eliminate himself in the Royal Rumble match because he couldn't be bothered to have someone throw him over the top rope and take a bump. So he just climbed the turnbuckle and dove upon luchadors outside the ring.
Now, would you guys say WCW had their own kind of new generation era?
I mean, I would argue basically up until the end especially up to the NWO, like I would argue that WCW is actually like a lot more kid friendly, like almost more kid friendly, because they were really trying to hammer the kids. I just think they did it a lot worse than WWE.
Whoa. Hey. Easy on the wording.
The ding dong.
We're not punching kids, okay? We're not punching kids.
Not with that attitude.
We're not. This is not attitude era. This is that's the next topic, Rob. Dang it.
But no, I mean we could fill up a whole nother, like, and that was like one of the like early, like when I was putting this together, I was thinking like, do I want to just say terrible mainstream gimmicks from like say 92 to 96? And I'm like, no, because WCW's got enough of their own like wrestle crap, new generation stuff that we could like that could be its own round table, because they kept doing weird stuff with Brad Armstrong, throwing him under a mask, because evidently that was the only way he was properly entertaining to someone that wasn't
he like the knockoff Spider-Man?
Yeah, he was Arachnaman. He was he was Bad Street.
That's a valid Hall of Famer for sure.
Bad Street and part of the Freebirds. He was also, they didn't put him under a mask for that, but then he randomly became the Candyman Brad Armstrong, where he like his gimmick was just
I remember that.
Where he just like wore candy striped tights and threw out candy to the crowd, but he was still just Brad Armstrong.
Take candy from strangers, kids.
Yeah.
Especially if they were candy stripe gimmicks, just don't do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but and they got, and they had like the ding dongs, like that was weird. Like I mean, we could try to make an argument for like the Dungeon of Doom being like sheer. I mean, I love Dungeon of Doom, but like it was not good by any stretch.
I don't want the ghost of Kevin Sullivan to come out and haunt us, so let's not.
I'm burning all the bridges, baby. I'm gonna get spiked too. Get a lariat. It's gonna get spiked. Like who else can I besmirch? But ow! It's not hot. Yeah, that's all we need for the Dungeon of Doom right there. Is just that quote. The Gambler, Jeff Gamble, just coming out pretending to be Kenny Rogers.
Whatever happened to the Gambler?
He retired like shortly after. He got fired from WCW, and then he's one of those guys that kept like having rumors that he died, and then finally actually died last year. Like he's one of those guys that like the Gambler from WCW died, and then it was like, and then like the Gambler's son would be like, no, that was some other guy named Gamble. And, like my dad's still alive. Here's my dad, and like then he just like
he's just like, hey.
Yeah, he's like, hey, but yeah, like you had like the Gambler, like Jerry Flynn, Lightning Foot Jerry Flynn, like the loudest man in professional wrestling. Actually, I want to like fantasy book a match between Iron Mike Sharp and Jerry Flynn to see who's the loudest man in the ring.
I would say you can argue like any wrestling convention, most wrestlers you will run into are from the new generation.
It's one of those things. Like, I mean, again, we talk like it was never not entertaining, and so it's burned into our minds because there's so many different. I don't want to like just like reduce it to colors, but everything is just like there's just so many bright and shinies like that kind of like like either A, that was the only okay, this is mean of me to say, but it's like the only like thing notable that they did on a national stage was the New Generation stuff, or B, like that it's just, dude, how are we going to forget about the wrestling dentist? Come on, man.
Right.
The only reason we don't talk about Isaac Yankem more is that he became Kane. If Kane never became a thing, we would just be talking about Isaac Yankem. Like, we'd even ignore the fake Diesel for the most part. We're just like, dude, Isaac Yankem, what's up with that, man?
Yep.
Like, it's just, you know, anything that gets your 15 minutes of fame, and then you can ride that 15 minutes and like do anything with. And like some of the stuff, like we could even like talk about like, you know, like some of the weird stuff that popped up too, because like WWE at the tail end of Attitudes, or before, just as the Attitude end or starting, like we talked, like they tried to do their own cruiserweight thing, and like seeing what happened with Dangerous Devon Storm and Ace Darling, aka the Extremists, etc., who also had a cup of coffee in WCW as well. It just worked wherever people could book them. And like, it's crazy go nuts, because I mean, both guys are awesome and deserve, like, I mean, Crowbar's still killing it out on the indies on his limited schedule, but like, it's just kind of crazy go nuts that like we didn't get to see more from them either. But again, like comparatively speaking, they didn't stick out compared to some of the other bright and shiny things, even though both of them had very respectable careers. And both are super awesome, and like are more than willing to engage with fans online if you reach out to them.
Right.
Sorry, and every time you mention the wrestler, I'm like, I wonder if they have an elite from that new generation. Because the new generation, I'm a figures guy, okay, as you can probably tell. I'm like, I wonder if there's an elite of that. Or there's
that's WWE that now.
Isaac Yankem, you don't want another price of.
I mean, a lot of figures in my head are already too expensive. Like, and those are just like brand new, not even like collector's value. That's just like, I'm not spending $25 for an action figure. Like,
I can't say anything.
I said I can't. Trust me. I've purchased things that are, you know.
I cannot say anything, because if you want to be a wrestling collector, figures is probably the cheapest option at some times.
I mean, that's fair. I usually stick to 8. I usually stick to 8x10s, and usually I stick to 8x10s that I see in person. So like a lot of times, like, yes, I will splurge, and if they're like, and be forced to pay like $40 for them, but usually it's 20 or less, which granted is nickel and diming me to death, because like, I'm not a guy who frames them all, but like this thick binder is nothing but 8x10s, which represent, you know, anywhere from $10 to $40 a pop.
My guilty pleasure, Funko Pops.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, we finally moved indoors.
This is most of my collection from the old house. It's all packed in boxes right now, but I think I have upwards of 50 Funko Pops, wrestling Funko Pops.
I have one.
I've got maybe 10, maybe more.
I have one just because it came in a Wrestle Crate. Like I never got into the Funko Pop craze, but I like for like 6 months I did like Wrestle Crate, and once in one of the boxes it had a Sting Funko in it. So that's
nice.
Now I'm jealous.
Hey, I'll give you $50 for it.
I'll consider it.
Rob's like, oh. $350. Oh, that reminds me. We can't forget Virgil.
Yeah, Virgil.
The reason I say this, because I think I may have told this story. So friends of mine were at WrestleCon, I want to say it was. They were there. And they met Virgil, and he was like, I think like $20 or $30. And while he didn't have any change, because all my friend had was a $50 or $100 bill or something like that, he goes, "Hey, give me some 20s and I'll pay you back to my other buddy." He's like, "Yeah, Daddy needs a 20." Just like that, randomly. He said they busted. They went at the moment we should have had a camera rolling. That should have been the moment, because the way Virgil said, "Yeah, Daddy needs a 20," it just said it like that.
I believe it, because especially like towards the end, he got hooked up with Shiki Baby's PR team, so he really leaned into that. I'm a hustler, anything for $20, baby. Sad, literally, the Virgil over here needs his F money.
Listen, Bubba, I need the money.
But I was like, we're winding down because we got about 120 minutes, but like I could break up like the full slideshow of stuff. Like some of these folks we obviously covered, but like I forgot like how late Well Done actually worked, and like these are the Southern rockers like everywhere else in the nation, and they come to WWE and they got thongs over their attire. Like we touched on TL Hopper and the one called Manners. We got Techno Team 2000.
Oh God, Techno Team 2000.
We didn't talk the Sultan. Shinobi. I referenced Shinobi when I talked about the 5,000 gimmicks of Al Snow, Sal Sincere, Tom Bandy, Johnny Gunn, Rockabilly, the real Double J, Jesse James, and the Roadie, Radford, criminally underrated. Somehow this man was considered Madonna's boyfriend in Mexico, which still blows my mind.
What?
Radford's Luis Piccoli wrestled in Mexico. He's part of Los Gringos Locos, the Art Bar Eddie Guerrero stable. His ring name was Madonna's boyfriend, and his gimmick was that he dated Madonna.
Okay, whatever
gets over. This man right here, allegedly.
Whatever gets over, man.
He got put in Los Gringos Locos, so something went right. We talked Fantasio. We talked Mantar. Mad Mountain Rock.
Yes,
dude.
I want that guitar.
And the dude was trained in like the New Japan dojo with Chris Benoit, and like somehow this is what the WWF came up with for him.
Look at his face. He's like, "What the hell am I doing?"
He used to be Max Payne, tag team champion with Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Quang, the evil ninja. We didn't talk about Savio Vega before Savio Vega showed up. We talked about Dr. Isaac Yankem. We got the Goon in. Like we ended up going Make a Difference, Fatu. Anybody remember Make a Difference, Fatu?
Oh yes.
And the Samoan Gangster Party that went nowhere with it as well. We didn't talk about Nerf Helmet Farouk.
No, stop. Get it off the screen. No, stop it.
Go away.
Okay, hang on. Go back for just a second. Back. So, not Love Duke. He's a great guy. If you ever get to meet him. Go back to Helmet. Okay, so his elite. If I see it anywhere, I will purposely hide it. Because that just brings shame to Ron Simmons. I'm sorry.
I don't know. Like that's one of the handful of things. Like, I go like this dude's like a legit. Was the first black WCW World Champion, and like this is what they came up with him. Like I know he was on his way down the card, etc. But like this is like this is what you came up with him. Like everybody knows this Ron Simmons.
Shortly after this, Farouk was born.
Yeah, like they just stuck it with Farouk instead of Farouk Assad, and like we moved on to the Nation, and further history from there. We got Duke Josie, the variations of Bob Holly, Bob Sparkplug Holly, Thurman Sparky Plug is how I prefer to remember him. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a Thurman Sparky Plug mark back when I was like 12.
That's because he was a race car driver, man.
Yeah. We didn't pop him up, but there's our Jacob and Eli Blue with Uncle Zebediah,
Dutch Mantail,
Dirty Dutch, Avatar, who put on the mask when he got into the ring, came to the ring maskless, put on the mask into the ring. We got Alto Montoya, we got Abe Swartz. We didn't talk Adam Bomb, like one of the most impressive figures.
Yes,
that's Wrath.
Yeah, it's Wrath. Yeah. He even got like little nuclear contact lenses, and then like disappeared randomly to show up in WCW.
You know these guys on TikTok show?
I believe it. Like he's one of those guys that just like showed up out of nowhere, like after like 10 years of nothing. Be like, hey, like I was in jail for armed robbery, but now I'm out. Like let's talk wrestling and just bad life shit. And then
he's doing pretty good, man. I'm happy for him. I pop in on it once in a while.
But I just think it's funny, just like he's just one of those guys that just came back out of nowhere. Like no one thought about Adam Bomb Wrath in like 15 years. Like we're like, what happened to him? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, like he's got his own YouTube, he's got his own show, and he's like very like upfront about his
doing
past,
good.
Of course, yeah.
Well, I mean, the same can be said for Maven. So I mean,
well, Maven's a marketing guy. I'm surprised it took him this long to do something like this.
Right.
But yeah, so like that's the entire slide.
That's it. You ended it with Adam Bomb. You nuked us at the end.
Yeah, well, that's how you do it. To be fair, though, the slideshow was in alphabetical order, like what I did. So that's one of the reasons why it took me like so long to like tap buttons before a picture would come up, because I got like 30 slides, and I missed them all too, because I again, like I screwed up Friar Ferguson, I screwed up Bastion Booger, etc. And then like I didn't put in slides for like the good gimmicks or the guys who actually like got over and stayed over, or Jeff Jarrett for that matter.
Forgot about Double J. How dare I?
He did too well under that gimmick, so he didn't really fall into Adam Bomb territory, but he also wasn't good enough to be Sean.
He's working hard on the. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Like we touched on Real Double J, but I still trying to figure out how like the World Wrestling Federation was going to be his stepping stone to the Grand Ole Opry. I never did figure out that logic. but I'm envious of that hat. I loved that. Like I hated him, but I loved that hat, the Flash and Double J hat.
You should get one that has your initials.
Oh God!
I'm not sure. I thought about it.
Timu may have it. I mean, you could probably get it made.
I mean, like if I look around, someone will probably be willing to make it for me. Like it doesn't fit because they put a whole fan, like a full fan in there. But like I had someone custom make me like a propellered beanie that I could just like with a motor on it, so I could turn it on and it would actually just spin by itself. But the problem is like
this is how you do it, beaver cleavage.
Yeah, we didn't talk about beaver cleavage either. But the problem was they put like an entire fan in there, so like the propeller stuck out, but there's still an entire fan underneath the cap, so the cap doesn't actually fit on my head. So like I never wear it, even though I have like a working propellered beanie somewhere in my box of hats. Oh. I got all sorts of gimmicks around this house here, baby. But this was our New Generation gimmick roundtable. These are the gimmicks that we love to hate. We even talked about some good gimmicks in there too, for some odd reason. But you know, if everyone enjoyed this, we will try to maybe turn this into a semi-regular thing. Maybe like we talked, there's a bunch of weird gimmicks in WCW. There's weird gimmicks everywhere. We can, you know. Or we don't have to stick to gimmicks. We can talk about anything. But like I appreciate y'all giving this a watch. Go ahead and wind down. Appreciate you guys coming on, especially like some of the last. Joe was a little bit more last minute than some of the other stuff. So I'm glad you had time in your schedule to come. Come talk.
Hold up, time out. You picked me last?
No, actually, there's people I talked to after you, but. You're firmly in the middle. I told you this was an evil plan to try to get the Miss Night Society back together, and I failed.
Yeah, now I'm a little bit offended. I gotta go heel now.
He saved the best for last.
Okay. Thank you, CZ. You're lucky, Rob. You're lucky.
You said you are the only shred of credibility I have on this show. Let's be realistic.
Oh well.
as I bury CZ. I am incapable of putting someone over without burying someone else. So now CZ is going to be the referee for the match between myself and Manders.
Manders, again, just take it off, dude. Just take it off. I mean, just low off the top.
The problem is CZ knows how I feel about referees, so if he dons the stripes, it might be the end of our friendship.
Yeah, but see, I'm also a wizard, so the loser I get to cast Fireball on.
I feel like you're a wizard. You can cast Fireball whenever you want to. That's a level 1 spell. Like, you should be doing that in your sleep.
How it is.
Yeah, we're working on. Spoilers. Sorry, CZ. I'm working on this for you. I'm actually going to see if we can't get you a T-shirt made that says "Cast Fireball" and it's you casting the fireball.
That'd be awesome. I'd wear the hell out of that. If it fits.
But yeah, right, this was fun, man. I'd love to do it again. I love just
man.
sitting around talking about wrestling.
Wow. I mean, I could talk this stuff all day long. Like, I mean, this is something like CZ and I just randomly text each other as it is, just like, hey, do you remember this thing? And like, oh yeah, this thing. It's like sweet. Or whatever. Like, hey, I was doing research on this other thing. You wouldn't happen to know anything about this, would you? Like, oh, sweet. Because actually, weird thing is, it turns out CZ and I had the opportunity to meet each other like 14 years ago. It was another just random sidebar. We just discovered we attended like the same indie event in Bellevue, Illinois in 2011. We just found it out like this past week when I was watching, and like a camera goes by a guy in the front row, and I'm like, is that CZ? It kind of looks like CZ if this was like 15 years ago and he had longer hair and he wasn't so gray in the beard. And so I sent him a message. So great, dude. And I sent him a message like, "Hey, did you go to IWA Mid-South King of the Death Matches 2011?" He's like, "I don't know. I've gone to so many indie events, like I can't pick one out. I was friends with Joey Grunge, so it was a possibility." I'm like, well, if I can get the camera to stop on you well and I can see you, because it was just going by in passing and I could never get like a full shot of him. And finally I got like a full, like just as I said that, like a full shot went by. I'm like, hold on. And like took a screen, like, this is you, right? He's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's me. Like, dude, I was there too. Like I was on the other side of the gym. And so we could have met each other like 12 years before we did in this crazy world of professional wrestling.
It's a small world in the sport of professional wrestling.
Yeah, brings us all together. I just think it's weird that like that like now we're based in the same geographic location, and that wrestling event was like an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours away from our home base of operations. So instead of yes, technically we met each other at SCW, like in Bluegrass, Iowa or whatever, but like we actually could have met each other outside of Peoria, Illinois, which is 2 hours away at some other random indie show. It's crazy, go nuts. But anyway, before we sidebar again, gentlemen, I'll take the last few moments to plug your stuff. Where can we find you online and anywhere else that you may need to plug? Any other projects where it is? Go ahead and start us off, CZ.
Well, I am at the Wizard CZ in most socials. You can find the podcast that I run, Card Subject to Change, at CSTC Podcast, Card Subject to Change Podcast on Facebook. Tonight, Nick and I are giving our reactions to AEW's Grand Slam and NXT's Vengeance Day. And you might want to tune in. I may have a special announcement of a new project that I'm going to be working on with another friend of mine. And of course, I'll transition over to Joe, being the co-host of the No Cell Roundtable. Joe, I'll let you talk about that, though.
You want to plug the No Cell Roundtable, Joe, and Joe Monroe Show?
I think we lost him.
Oh, getting some lag there.
Yep, sorry guys.
Okay.
We got bad weather here where I'm at. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, you can find me. I'm with the Wrestling Society Network Friday nights 8 p.m. Usually, unless I have to change those, Sunday nights 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central. Other than that, I'm usually just producing. I am no longer wrestling independently no more, so I have plenty of time on my hands. Don't know what I'm going to do with it. I know we got the Professional Wrestling Legacy Hall of Fame coming up in June. That is a big project I am 100% working on, and it is going to happen June 21st in Somerset, Kentucky at the Center for Rural Development. That's going to be really great. And anybody involved in the business alike, so that's going to be awesome. Just a little get together. Everybody that enjoys wrestling get to recognize some great folks who don't normally get the recognition they deserve. This is me saying, hey, these guys were just as important as what you see on TV, and they gave a lot to the sport of professional wrestling. So yeah, that's going to happen. That's the big thing that's I'm working on. I got some side projects. May take about a year or so to work on, but we'll see in the future.
All right. So, and both Car Substitution and Joe Monroe Show are on YouTube. I at least put that or type their names in the scrolly thing instead of just like doing the links. But if I remember later, I'll throw the actual links in the descriptors because I wasn't that good yet. And again, but like thank you everyone for giving this a watch. Thank you, CZ. Thank you, Joe, for hopping on and talking wrestling for an hour and a half. Like I know CZ could talk wrestling all day. I assume Joe, you're the same. The reason I do a podcast is so the wife doesn't have to listen to me talk wrestling all day. There we go. Thank you all for giving us a listen. There we go. Wrestling bringing people together. But thank you all for giving us a listen. Be sure to check this out. Check out the Joe Monroe Show. Check out Car Subject Change, and of course, check out MLW Con-Fusion.
MLW Con-Fusion is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and is hosted by Spotify for podcasters. MLW Con-Fusion is part of the Urban Wrestling Network, and you can check them out on the Underground Rundown on YouTube at Urban Wrestling NW. Background